Here we go. Welcome to Cole Sportz. I am that man, your man, Cole Johnson. He's here to bring you all of the sports coverage, even in the dog days of summer like this. We'll touch on some beef between the Bengals and the Chiefs. We'll, of course, go into the 25-game suspension of Ja Morant because, well, while the while this broadcast was happening this past week, the sentencing was rendered. And so then we'll talk a little bit more about that. Of course, we'll put a subject under an email. We'll go in on another subject and we will have a dolt of the week. And I think you all will love the dolt of the week that's on tap. But what's on tap now is headlines. Now, I mentioned the beef between the Bengals and the Chiefs. Of course, it's obvious since these two teams have played for the AFC crown the last 2 years. And there's bound to be a little bit of animosity that builds up because you have so much riding on the game. And so the rivalry has now been up to another notch just a tad. The Bengals stand as one of the few teams who have enjoyed sustained recent success against the defending champs. Out of the last 4 games they played, they've won 3 of them against them, including the 2021 AFC Championship game. However, the Chiefs, of course, they hold the bragging rights because they're the defending world champs, and they beat the Bengals 23-20 in last year's conference title game, which catapulted them to their second ring in the last 4 years. But this past week, this week, Joe Burrow's name was mentioned. And he responded to a question about the best quarterback in NFL. And of course, he named Mahomes as the clear choice. But when that question was posed to Jamar Chase, he actually said the best player in the NFL, not just a quarterback. The nod goes to Burrow, saying the decision for him was easy. And informed of Joe's choice, Mr. Chase said, Pat who? Well, Mahomes, of course, took to Twitter later on in the week, and he said that there's a piece of hardware. Actually, there's 2 pieces of hardware that I have that you don't own one of yet. So there was a tweet of a photo with Mahomes flashing his 2 Super Bowl championship rings with the caption of, quote, "That's who." Close quote. Oh, man. I'm almost rooting for them to meet up in the AFC Championship game for a 3rd consecutive year. How would it be to end another January with another titanic tilt between those 2 teams? I don't care if it's in Arrowhead. I don't care if it's in Paycor. It doesn't matter where these 2 teams play. I want to see them. And of course, we'll see them in regular season play too. But I want to see them play for the AFC Championship game again for the 3rd consecutive year, because this rivalry is getting better and better by the minute. Now, shifting gears, but staying on the gridiron. Now, a lot of the talk has been, well, Lamar Jackson is a running quarterback. The offense seems to bog him down because it's all about RPO and a lot of running via running backs or himself. Well, the new Ravens offense coordinator, Todd Monken, says, cool is out, execution is in. Now, the phrase rings true, though, when it comes to designing and installing an offense. But the task for the staff of the Ravens that they have taken up since May was culminated with the mandatory minicamp that wrapped up last week. Now, the new offense coordinator, the brand new minted offense coordinator, had this to say about the new changes that are afoot in Baltimore. Quote, "The cooler we are, the less we execute. When we get out there in the field, it's not about being cool. It's not about that. It's about your preparation that leads up to practice and that you fight like heck during the week so that come game day, it comes to life." Close quote. Now, everything looks great in June, and I'm remembering what Playmaker said to me, uh, the Playmaker of the Playmakers blog and Ramley Talk and Arch Rivals and many other content that he does, shooting lights out. I can just go on and probably take up a whole hour. But he basically said, look, it's June. Wake me up when it's September. Wake me up when these games actually count and the execution really matters. So, yes, I agree with him on that. But it is good to hear that the Ravens see that that is a problem, that their offense became stale and they needed a change of pace and a course correction. Out goes Greg Roman, in comes Todd Monken, and maybe he is the guy to bring a Steve Young-esque feel to Lamar Jackson's game. That'd be interesting. Now, shifting the gears off of the gridiron, going to the diamond, but not necessarily diamond, actually about a ring. You see, there was a missing World Series ring from a longtime worker at the Houston Astros ballpark, or Minute Maid Park. The ring was missing, but it has been found and returned to its rightful owner. Jenny Arredondo posted on Facebook about 3 days ago that the missing ring belonged to her friend's father, who worked at Minute Maid Park, home of the Astros, for the last 23 years. Now, while working there at the Father's Day game, the man, identified by local media as Ronaldo Munoz, took off his ring to wash his hands and received a call for assistance. He realized his ring was missing 20 minutes later, but when he went to check it where he left it, it was gone. Now, according to KTRK TV's television station, Neymar Davalos, an 8-year-old boy, found the ring and he gave it to his father, Ray Davalos, as a Father's Day present. He originally thought it was a replica. Now, after seeing Arredondo's post, which had over 6,000 shares, he realized that the ring was missing and met up with Munoz to return it. That was good. I'm glad that the man who had his ring missing, it got found. That is great. But I had to learn this lesson the hard way too. I understand when you had to wash your hands that you normally are apt to take off the ring. You normally would just leave it there and it will disappear. You may have to wash your hands with the ring on, even though that is one you normally don't tote around. You just got to be more careful. Shifting gears to the Olympics, or next year's Olympics, an American fencer might have cost his team a spot at said Olympics next year in Paris with his outburst at a competition earlier in the week. Curtis McDowell kicked and damaged a freestanding banner near the competition area this past Monday following a loss in Lima's Pan American Games, leading to a complete disqualification of not just him, but the whole men's épée team, and a devastating blow for its Olympic qualification hopes. Now, the 2020 Olympian stormed off the competition strip after being penalized with a red card on the decisive point in the semifinals against Colombia. Video footage also shows him subsequently putting his foot through a banner, prompting another member of the U.S. fencing team to attempt to calm him down. Now, the 27-year-old was later shown not just a red card, but a black one, preventing the U.S. team from competing in the bronze medal match, and gave it 0 qualifying points toward the Olympic competition. The fencing team had this to say in response to what has transpired. Quote, "We are disappointed by Curtis's actions and regret that they have harmed Team USA's chances of fielding a men's épée team for the 2024 Olympics." Close quote. And my father always tried to tell me, look, man, your temper can be your downfall if you don't control it and corral it. That's a prime example of your temper not being controlled, wrecking your whole team. Ooh, that's bad. That's bad. Now, hopefully they can qualify, but time is running short because the Olympiad begins next summer. Kyle Kuzma, as we go to the hardwood, He is now a free agent when the league's annual offseason shopping spree begins. Now, he declined his 13-year player option with the Wizards for next season. And the person spoke to AP on condition of anonymity, and he says that neither side disclosed the move. Now, ESPN first reported that Kuzma declined the option. Now, the move was not a surprise since Kuzma said to the Washington Post and The Athletic in December that he was not planning to exercise said option. And given what he will command on the market, the decision makes sense. He's coming off his highest scoring season of his 6-year career, averaging over 21 points for the Wizards, who are finalizing a trade that will send the 3-time All-Star Bradley Beal to the Suns. It's possible that Kuzma could return to the Wizards on a far more lucrative deal. $13 million for someone averaging more than 20 points a game would be an absolute steal. And I think what Kuzma has to understand is that he needs to step up his game even more in totality, and hopefully he will, because now he can't say, well, I'm a young pup. He's now getting into the prime of his career, although he's only 26, but still he's getting there into the prime, and now people are going to be looking for him to be the man. And there was a guy who said that, he thinks that he probably needs to surround himself with the right amount of veterans who can groom him to be the man. I think that's a great idea. Kyle, get your money. And if it is with the Wizards, that's great. And I think that's probably where you would be, I won't say best suited, but your situation might be a little more tenuous in terms of talent on the team, considering that Beal has been shipped off out west to the desert. And staying on the hardwood, finally, another who has opted out of his contract, Draymond Green. Yes, the power forward for the Warriors and 4-time NBA champion. He opted out of his final year of his deal with the Warriors this past Monday. He will become an unrestricted free agent. Now, an instrumental member of the Warriors championship teams, of course, along with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, he declined playing next season on a player option that would have paid him almost $28 million next year. What he will do instead is he'll test the open market, where a return to the Warriors could also be in the offering. Now, Green's agent, Rich Paul, said that they'll continue talks with Golden State and explore all options. Now, Green is 33. He has spent all of his 11 years with the Warriors. And people were probably saying that he was on his way out when he decided to ball up his fist and cave in Jordan Poole's face with it in practice about 3 weeks before the 2023 season began in October. He's an important cog because the Warriors need to have as many big bodies as they can have, or at least as many big bodies that are committed to be playing against 4s and 5s as they can, because the team is already small as it is. They cannot risk to be smaller. So I'm thinking that Green is probably going to resign. What I believe is happening here is he wants to test his market value to see, okay, this team is willing to offer this, and he'll go back to the Bay Area and say, okay, this team is willing to offer this. Can you match it? And more than likely, the way the Warriors think, they will. So my thought is, I think Green is going to stay a Warrior. He's going to be more he's going to be more endowed than just with the $28 million he would have earned if he were to play his last year. But the clock is ticking, because the free agency period for the NBA begins June 30th. And that concludes this week's headlines. A break, and when we come back, 25 games. That's a steep penalty for waving a gun, whether it's a toy or real. This is Cole Johnson of Cole Sportz. I'll be right back right after this.
You have to learn to live with yourself before you can make a commitment of yourself to someone else.
When you go to something that's already structured, like the church, I don't need to go in there thinking I'm the pastor. It's like already one set up. You know what I'm saying?
It just had everything. But I learned, you know what I'm saying? Everything I did, I learned from.
So we look forward to seeing you same time, same place. Know that we love you, God loves you more. Continue to stay safe, do the right thing, stay out of trouble.
Conversation that informs a community. Brothers of Legacy. Every weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. Quinn.
Moment of clarity. I haven't watched BT in years.
KP.
Drake needs to come back with another triple platinum album.
E. Digger.
And then you have Ray J. Like, I can't stand that River Cricket.
The Guru.
Okay, the level of crack she's smoking, I don't want it.
BS3 Network proudly presents the Knucklehead Chronicles podcast, where from card tips to hot topics to meat of the week, anything goes. Live every Sunday at 2:30 p.m. Central. Welcome back, Cole Johnson, Cole Sportz, and yeah, I'm enjoying life right now, and hopefully you are too. And now it is the first of the 4 visits we normally do to the VIP zone. Now, if your comments are, if it's on the live show, if your comments really are solid, it will actually be a chapter in one of the chapters in this particular episode. So the VIP zone is very important because you are the lifeblood to this program. And one of the most important VIPs has arrived. My man Victor Locke, or VLock A3, or Vicalock, says, "Let's go. It's that time for Cole Sportz with the Z." And now put your hands together and show your love for the star of Cole Sportz, Cole Johnson. Thank you, Victor. Thank you. I appreciate you and everybody in the VIP zone. Now, let's get into business, shall we? We have a young man who I think he's now learning his lesson that he cannot do things in a way that would rub people raw. That his power and influence is so great that any wrong thing, any wrong move, any wrong thought process, any wrong saying that comes out of his mouth could actually literally scare people. And I think many don't quite understand it because, when it comes to Ja Morant, they're saying, well, what law did he break? Well, the answer to the question is he hasn't broken any laws. But it's not about the laws that he broke. No, it's about the trust that he has with his business partner, the National Basketball Association. So I think I need to send one of these. Email today, NBA fan. Subject email: conduct detrimental to business. Body of email: conduct detrimental to business, or conduct detrimental to the league. Now I know that's word salad to some of you. However, it's important to those who have to take heed to it. Take, for instance, Mr. Ja Morant, who does have to take heed to it, because this is not the first set of games he's been suspended for in his career. It's not even the first set of games he's been suspended for in this year. in this calendar year, I mean. Now, the NBA handed down their ruling for Morant to sit 25 games, the first of them, for the upcoming 2024 season. So we probably won't see him play on the court till maybe around Christmas time. And I think it's about right, maybe. So the suspension this past weekend that was handed down to him was not unexpected from an organization that made headlines for players off the court issues and on court antics. Now, you have to understand, the Grizzlies are a young bunch. They're rambunctious, and when I mean this in fun. They're rambunctious. They have a freedom. They feel as though that they are a band of brothers, and it is great to see and watch when they are together and they are bonded and they are one unit and they play like a unit. And from all that I could see, it looks like the team plays together because of that unity. And I think that's a great thing. But when you have issues off the court that affects what does on it, that's when you run into problems and trouble. Now, the year before, the Grizzlies won 56 games. They got to the conference semifinal round where they had a home court advantage against the Golden State Warriors, but it just did not happen and they got bounced. Now, with all that pressure, this was supposed to be the team that was going to actually take the next step and be the power breakers of the Western Conference. They still ended up with a number 2 seed for this past year, but they had a worse record. They had a worse performance, and they ended up getting bounced out even earlier than last year, losing to the Lakers in the first round. Now, from a team standpoint, veterans like Jeff Van Gundy, former NBA coach, now he's the current ESPN and ABC analyst. He says that there's a lot of questions about how the Grizzlies will rebound and how they will stem the tide in leading up to Morant's return 25 games later. Now, this is what he has said about the team. Quote, "Are they healthy? Are they unselfish? Are they driven? And can they make enough right decisions to lead an organization? Those are the most important things when you talk about the Grizzlies from top to bottom." Close quote. And yes, I agree with that. And we can poke fun at one Dylan Brooks, who ran his mouth and said that he doesn't respect anybody unless they score 40 on him. And the fact is, even though 40 wasn't scored on him, he was extremely embarrassed because he ran his mouth and he backed it up with absolutely nothing. But it isn't about him or Jaren Jackson or any other player on the Grizzlies. It really is about the fate of Ja Morant. Now, his star has been built. Everything seems to be on track for him to rule the league and to be the number 1 star on the Grizzlies and to basically be that placeholder of the guy that the Memphis area supports, the way they did Zebo or Zach Randolph when he became a Grizzly and played most of his career there. Morant is that guy for them. He's the Grizzlies' first ever Rookie of the Year. He is the Grizzlies' first NBA's Most Improved Player of the Year. And his jersey, which is number 12, it ranks among the top 10 in the NBA's best sellers list. And then, oh, by the way, Nike gave Morant a signature shoe deal. So you have all of these things that make you say, okay, Morant has it all set. And then when he is healthy, to play on the court is really stellar. but it is what he is doing off the court in terms of the decisions he's made that gives you pause. Take, for example, in March, where he flashed a handgun on an Instagram Live. And then 2 months later, he appears to wave another one in another Instagram Live, this one filmed by a friend of his. Now, the first time that happened, the league suspended him 8 games and he had to do rehab. This one was 25, and the second one's 25 for the reasons of, I think, one, it looks like he didn't learn this lesson the first time. 2, he sort of brokered the trust or fractured the trust between him and the NBA front offices. And 3, it had to be a stiffer penalty than the first time. Now, for those of you saying, well, he doesn't break a law. I mean, it's legal to carry in Tennessee. I know this. I live in the state. Yes. Yes, it is legal to carry. But just like you can be at a work spot and it's legal to smoke in the state, if you work for a work spot and you work for a company that says you can't touch marijuana and they test you and you go and you test positive, you can be smoking in a smoke-free state. The pink slip still is coming because you broke company policy. It's that simple. It is a privilege, not a right, to play in the NBA. Just like it's a privilege, not a right, to work at a certain place. So if it is true for those who don't play in athletics, what makes you think it would be true for someone who does? If a governing body sees that a player is impugning the league's reputation, if his presence, or hers, if we're talking about the WNBA, if their presence is making a stain on what the league is about, the league is going to protect itself. And how do they protect itself? Well, you had to say, all right, you need to cool down. You need to cool off. And yes, open carry state is Tennessee. And yes, that's all well and good. But the NBA is not open carry. You gotta have proof that you are a licensed gun owner. And that has been in the books for almost the last 20 years. And it had to be in the books because of what happened with Gilbert Arenas and an incident in the club with Steven Jackson. And because of those two guys and those two completely distinct different incidences, it is in the bylaws that if you do own a weapon, you must carry a license with it. And you must give it to the front office of the NBA. You must do it. It's a must. Now, what isn't in the books is what the late commissioner, David Stern, said to the players, and that is, please don't bring it with you. You can have it in the home. I don't mind that, but don't bring it out of the house. So I'm assuming they're under the same purview. I'm assuming it's under the same unwritten law. Don't bring the weapon outside the house because we don't want to scare our patrons, because that does affect their bottom line and their bottom dollar. We don't want to scare off the patrons. We have to not have you carry outside of the home. You may be licensed and you may live in a state where it's open carry, but don't do it because I don't want you to deal with the headache, and we don't want to deal with the headache. And to prevent that, if you do decide to bring it out the house, that will fall under the conduct detrimental to the league statute. So miss me with the, well, it's not a criminal what he's doing. It's not against the law. It's understood it's not against the law, but it's against business policy. And when you go up against business and you do something antithetical to what the business wants, it doesn't matter at all how free you are. Second Amendment is one thing, kind of detrimental to the league is another. And now Ja Morant has learned that lesson, and he's learning it a harder way the second time around. From the Vault is next, followed by the Dolt of the Week. You're listening to the classiest sports show on the planet. Cole Sportz! From the Vault, a look back at a key moment in sports history. June 21st, 2012. It looked like we were on the road to a coronation. What do I mean? Well, the Miami Heat formed the Heatles back in 2010, and promises of more than 5 or 6 or 7 championships was in the air. However, the previous June, the Heatles took it on the chin to a disappointing 6-game NBA Finals loss to the Mavericks. Buoyed by that, the team went on a tirade, I guess you could say. They tore through the East, although they only end up with the number 2 seed of that year. And with a unfortunate break with the injury of Derrick Rose, the Heat cruised through until they got to the conference finals, where LeBron James had to come up against a formidable and familiar nemesis in the Boston Celtics. But with a 45 point, 15 rebounds, 6 assist performance in Game 6, that propelled the Heat to a 7-game victory over the Celtics, boosting him into the finals where they met up with the Oklahoma City Thunder. The triumvirate of Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden were waiting for him, and the series was tied at 1 when the next 3 games after the first 2 were to be played in Miami, and the Heat swept those 3 games. The last of them, 121-106, sealed the game, sealed the Thunder's doom, and sealed the Heat's second ever NBA championship, the second ever championship for Dwayne Wade, but more importantly, the first ever championship for LeBron James. In that game, he scored 26 points, pulled down 11 rebounds, gave you 13 assists. In a triple-double performance, it earned him his first ever also Finals MVP. LeBron James gets his first ring with a 121-106 victory against the Oklahoma City Thunder on this date in 2012. We'll be right back right after this. From the Vault, brought to you by Cole Sportz. This is a journey into crime. A podcast journey that tells the stories of those long forgotten or those easy to remember. We go on a journey that reveals mystery, intrigue, and offers more twists and turns than a country highway. We have looked over cases, we've combed over evidence and testimony, yet we still are left with no answers. Sometimes, in order to get a deeper understanding of something, you must return to view. Now available for download for subscribers only. Each episode premieres only on the USA Today network. Join now for just $1 to receive premium content like Return to View. That's $1 to become a subscriber and a Return to View loyal listener. Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Welcome back to Cole Sportz. Cole Johnson here. And welcome back to the VIP zone where the lifeblood of the show is you. And again, as I said, the best comment will be one of the chapter titles of this episode. Starting with the owner, the manipulator, the operator of the BS3 network, going under the BS3 sports handle, Ben Southern the third, saying, "Mama, there goes that man, Cole Sportz." Thank you. Victor says, sometimes the things you do, even though it's not illegal, can still be viewed as dangerous and unappealing to people who want to hire you to represent them. Exactly. And I think that just flies over people's heads. I don't understand that. And some salutations were passed along in the chat. Ryan McCarthy, no credentials required fame, and actually the guest host for the balance of this week of the Brian Snow Show. He says, when I grow up, I want my show to be as classy as Cole Sportz. With the Z. A Pizzle says, with the Z. Victor says it was a great show, by the way, Ryan. And Ryan talking about what happened on the Brian Snow Show. He says, look, it was pretty serendipitous when the Hockey Hall of Fame induction announcements were at the same time. So my guest and I could actually react live, which that is a great thing to actually have the reaction like that. Ryan goes on to say, look, it's legal to carry, but it's illegal to brandish a firearm. There's the difference. True. There's a difference, but we only have to go that far. If your company says don't do it, but you do it anyway, that pretty much would be that is where it has to stop. Oh my goodness. The Hawk TV. We will talk about Yo Kang in the next segment. Believe me. We will talk about that, and we'll get to more of the comments that you have in the last segment too, because I think you will enjoy it. Fit Down Sports Show, my brother, Chris Deese, he says, look, the Master of the Palace was amazing television. Yes, it was. He also says, I still remember watching it from my couch in college, talking about the Master of the Palace. Yeah. Ugh. And why Master of the Palace? Victor says, look, after the Master of the Palace incident, the NBA's public image had to be scrubbed, and maybe Ja needs that history lesson. Yeah. Yeah. And yes, for the From the Vault, Snowman would say, boo, who cares? Well, unfortunately, it's like the facts life. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. Now we'll get back to the VIP zone. I love you guys. You're absolutely wonderful. The lifeblood of the show. And now it is time to award the next Dolt of the Week. Dolt of the Week is sponsored by nobody. The winner, by a landslide, of this episode's Dolt of the Week is Antonio Brown, aka Antonio Clown. And I'll get this out the way because I know I'll have this comment come soon, probably from Ryan, when when he has said about him, quote, Antonio is not the clown, he is the whole doggone circus, close quote. Well, I definitely agree with that, considering what transpired and why did he land, and the reason why he landed on this week's Dolt of the Week roster. Now, imagine you have a team, you own a professional franchise. You are the majority owner of said professional franchise. You have the pick of the litter. You can do whatever you want as long as you are good to your employees, and everybody under you is your employee. That's all you have to do. Just be good to your employees and be good to your fan base, considering this is a business that encourages an audience. Well, Mr. Brown owned the Albany Empire of the National Arena League. Notice I said the word in past tense, owned. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, Cole, why is it that you're saying this in past tense? Why is it that you're saying that he owned and not he owns the Albany Empire? Well, it's the same reasons why I would say that the Albany Empire was a National Arena League franchise member. Notice I did not say is, I said was. This guy, once again, is showing how much he is flamed out on football in general, just professional football in general. So last Thursday, the NAL unanimously terminated the membership of the Albany Empire. God, I still can't believe I'm reading this. Goodness gracious. Last Thursday, the National Arena League unanimously terminated the membership of the Albany Empire. Again, the team that Antonio Brown owned, over a failure to pay mandatory assessments that had become overdue.
What?
They lost their membership over dues not being paid.
What?
They lost their membership over dues not being paid.
What?
They lost their membership over dues not being paid.
Yes.
I just don't understand it. I honestly, if I was on that team, I'm sure you probably heard a collective amount of
No.
But let me go on. So the league announced a decision which was made during an emergency conference call with members in good standing. Now, the details of this, Brown has already been fined as well. He was fined $1,000 for conduct detrimental to the league. Stop me if you heard that term on this episode already. Fined $1,000 from the NAL for conduct detrimental to the league for public comments he has made. The NAL has said that Brown has failed to pay that fine as well. Now, according to the NAL's release, teams are required to pay 1/7 of the league's operating budget through a series of monthly assessments, which began in April. Now, it's on record that the Empire didn't pay theirs for April, and they failed to make their payment for May. Now, probably when you would know that if they had or had not made their payments for June, that's probably when the NAL gave the old heave-ho to the Empire. And if you're saying, well, wait a minute, so this team must not have been any good. Well, you would be led to assume that because they've started their season in April and they won their first game, and then they went on a 6-game losing streak. And in that 6-game losing streak, Brown fired one coach.
What?
2 head coaches.
What?
3 head coaches.
What?
4 head coaches.
What?
5 head coaches. 5 head coaches. Oh my goodness. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. How on earth did this guy how on earth did this guy get a chance to even own 1% of the team, let alone a majority of it? 5 head coaches he has canned in a span of 3 months, and complete total upheaval.
You've got to be joking me.
I wish I was inspiration, but I'm not. I mean, this guy is an absolute dumpster fire. It's a shame and a travesty. And we could say that, yes, the Vontaze Burfict hit he took in the 2015 wildcard round game when he was a Steeler in Cincinnati probably contributes to his erratic behavior. No. When I heard teammate Ryan Clark said that he basically was that much of a space cadet before that hit, that's why I say, it's not that. It may have helped it go further, maybe, but nah. Mm-mm. Part of me does not think it is a concussion. Part of me believes it's just that's what his heart is, and that's what his mind is. And I don't want to say that. But what else can you say when this fool is basically showing that as an owner, he's taking one huge, stinking, big pile of an when we come back, the war of words between a player and a coach. This is Cole Sportz. We'll be right back right after this.
Do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to show that attainability. I want to show the accessibility of this kind of lifestyle.
From social media to having conversations with friends and family, you always have to put on face and save face.
What brings a smile to my face is the one person that totally believes in me, and that's my beautiful wife, Jody.
I just had to stop because I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And it's like, I have to learn to love myself.
Changing the world one conversation at a time. This is Revelations.
Coming on next week's installment of Cole Sportz, we'll delve into all things NBA draft worthy. Maybe some NHL as well, some MLB, some football as well, as that is rounding the corner and going into training camp, which of course would be in less than a month from that episode. But we're not done yet, because we still have to make another visit to the VIP zone. And here we go. Victor. And now, Stupid University presents the Dolt of the Week. Dolt of the Week, as Ryan McCarthy is saying, is brought to you by Stupid University. Stupid University, where no one graduates and everyone is left back. Victor says, the clown is at it again. I'm certain that Antonio will be a nominee for effing moron of the year. That's all I have to say about that. Ryan goes on to say, Antonio Brown is not just a graduate of Stupid University. He's an ignoramus emeritus. Victor says, name brand recognition. Yeah. He also goes on, and I agree with this point. He says, it's his ego that's been his problem since he was at Pitt. I think so too. It's like once he became huge in terms of NFL lore, it just all went to his head. Ryan, who of course lives in the Albany area, so he knows a lot about what took place with the Albany Empire and their dismantling of being in the NAL. He says Brown signed to own 44% of the team. The other 51 was owned by Mike Quarter, and the last 5 were owned by the Von Schiller family. After week 1, Quarter sold his share to Brown for $1. $1. He goes on to say the Von Schillers say that they still own 5%, but Brown's team has bullied the couple into trying to show proof, which they have. But Brown's team still says that they don't own that 5%. Yeah. So right there, 90. Well, if they own 5, that means Brown owns the other 95. So yes, majority owner acting an absolute clown. Fit Down Sports Show, or Chris Deese, he says, look, I want to see this story because I'm interested to see what sparked this Coach Malone controversy. And I'm going to touch that off in a sec. And I'm glad you said that. But all because along the lines of Antonio Brown, Ryan says, look, and allegedly, Brown still has to pay that $1. Why does that not surprise me at all? Now, you have a coach that is celebrating a championship in Mike Malone. You have a player who, let's be honest, he's butthurt whenever somebody says something negative about him. Now, what does LeBron James and Mike Malone have to do with one another? Well, I'm about to go in. So Mike Malone, Some of you may know, others may are asking who. Well, Mike Malone is the guy who took a wonderful made team in the Denver Nuggets to a championship, coasted through the playoffs, even getting only a 53-win regular season, but they showed their worth by beating the Timberwolves in 5 games, beating the Suns in 6, clobbering them in Game 6, sweeping the Lakers, and taking the Heat in 5 to win their first NBA championship in their 47-year history of being in the National Basketball Association. So, of course, you would think that anybody on the Nuggets would be riding high. Well, no one is riding higher than the head coach of that team, Mike Malone. He's living it up, taking shots on the bus, looking like he is smashed, drinking on the stage in the in the award ceremony, cursing up a blue streak. I mean, the dude was just living his life. He's living his best dream. And you would think he's much younger than his 51 years, but I mean, he is living it up. Now, now you're saying, well, wait a minute. Where's the controversy, Cole? What are you talking about that they're having this war words with old LeBron? Well, he made an appearance on the Pat McAfee show, did Malone. And during that appearance, the winning head coach decided to take a nice little jab at the expense of one LeBron James. So going through and accounting the season leading up to the ring, the conversation tilted and shifted toward the Lakers. And so Malone, being the gregarious sort that he is, he said, quote, "Speaking of the Lakers, I just want you guys to know, this is breaking news. I'm thinking about retiring. Shh, so don't tell anybody." Close quote. Now, that was a shot toward one LeBron James because he felt, and he actually said this during the time, when the Lakers got swept by the Nuggets, news of the sweep was not covered. It was news of, well, is LeBron going to retire or not? He's saying that he's going to have to take some time to think about if he's going to return next year. The narrative was already spinning as soon as the post game of Game 4 of that series took place. And so the luster kept being on LeBron, not the Lakers, LeBron, and none of the shine was felt with the Nuggets. So Malone felt a little bit funny. He felt a little kind of way, and he was a little petty. No, he was a lot petty. So he kept that in his pocket, and he said, okay, at the right time, I'm going to unleash. And he did on the Pat McAfee show last week. Not to be outdone, LeBron James flying the flag to start the 24-hour race of Le Mans in France. He decided to clap back at one Mr. Mike Malone because he did not find the retirement jab to be humorous or funny like many of us probably did. The star appeared to respond to the Nuggets head coach, sort of being slick in how he was returning the barb, not saying it directly like you would think, because he took to Instagram this past Friday and said, quote, "In Europe for the last few weeks, minding my business, and I hear I'm on your mind that much, huh? I mean, I guess I can see why, but wave the flag on these lames. Please make being player cool again. cause the lane machine is at an all-time high. And I'm reading this verbatim. Enjoy your light, but just know I'm the sun. I stay on forever. Close quote.
No! This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
You for real?
You are the sun. You stay on forever, son. Okay. You don't have room to talk, LeBron. This is why you don't have room to talk. You come across as a learned individual. You come across as a well-read one, right? So I'm sure you have heard the phrase, to the victor go the spoils, right? I know you have. You can't fault the man for feeling that way about you, not necessarily the Lakers, you, when they get swept. I mean, you get swept, and you come up with, excuse one, I'm thinking about retiring. And then about a week later, excuse two, for about 4 or 5 months or so, I played with a messed up foot. And then we get to the following week where Kyrie Irving is entertaining you going to Dallas. Now, I mean, you're saying you're minding your own business, yet things just get leaked out. So I don't think you're minding your business. You're mining your own business. Not M-I-N-D-I-N-G. I mean M-I-N-I-N-G. You're mining your business. And part of mining your business is to, like you said in the last part of your Instagram post, you're the sun, right? You shine on you shine forever. You're on forever, right? That's what you said, sir. I stay on forever. That came out of they came from your thumbs or your hands. That came out of your brain. You're the sun, you stay on forever. That's exactly why I have issues with bronsexuals, because they stay on like the sun too, because they day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, sing your praises on and off season, to the point where they shame any legend that has come before you. And why? Because I get a chance to actually shine the light on you and say, this is the behavior as to why we have these bronsexuals messing up sports talk. Because you fan the flames and lead the way. You know what my grandmother said to me when someone talked ill, and I wasn't mature enough to understand it. So I needed that lesson a little later in life too. You know what she said to me? She said, quote, son, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say anything. Close quote. And I'm sure you'd say, well, but Mike Malone didn't say anything nice, but I'm going to go back to that. Remember what I said earlier, to the victor go the spoils, right? So Malone is the head coach of the team that won a championship and beat you 4 games to none en route to it. So he and Nikola Jokic and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Christian Brown and Bruce Brown and Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. all can talk mess. They can talk all the junk they want, because guess what they can do? They can point to the scoreboard. That's what they can do. That's what Mike Malone can do. And that's what Mike Malone is doing to you. And and you already knew he's that type. He's that type anyway. Go back to the end of that ridiculous All-Star game in February, where he was the head coach of the team, and he actually said that I don't know what that game represented. I don't know what that game resembled. It did resemble a basketball contest to me. You're abreast of everything, obviously, because you were halfway across the world and you heard that Malone clapped on you because you decided to spring a possible retirement announcement only minutes after the fact that you got eliminated from his team that he coaches. So you caught wind of that. To the video go to spoils. Now you remember, sir, that, you're on their minds. Well, I guess Malone must have you on his mind. But I also guess you must have had the Warriors on your mind, sir, because I remember vividly when you got off the plane, when you flew from the Bay Area back to Northeastern Ohio. You had on a blue shirt with this character that I didn't recognize at first. But when we got closer and closer to the t-shirt you were wearing, you know what it said? It said, quote, "The ultimate warrior." Close quote. So, to the victor go to spoils. Remember that, right? So, if you feel as though Mike Malone should not have come after your neck like that, then you probably should have said a thing if Klay Thompson or Stephen Curry or Draymond Green or Steve Kerr or Andre Iguodala, and congratulations on your retirement, by the way, sir. If they were to clap back at you wearing a shirt that said Ultimate Warrior because you played the Warriors. But no, you and your merry brand of Bronze Sessions found it funny. He's trolling the Warriors. So let me get this straight. What's good for the goose is not good for the gander. Let me understand this. Let me ascertain this. So you can deal the trash, but you can't accept the trash. You can be petty, but you can't accept petty. So when you are lame, because you called Mike Malone lame in dissing your retirement announcement, you could diss lames, but you don't want to own being lame. I got the rules already. Got it. So you can wear an Ultimate Warrior shirt after beating the Warriors, coming from a 3-1 deficit, and for the first time in history, a team in the finals did so. You can wear an Ultimate Warriors t-shirt. You can wear that. You can wear an Ultimate Warrior t-shirt. And you can say, well, he's my favorite wrestler. Ha, 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 ha. No, that was a diss. That was a sneak diss to the Warriors, saying that I conquered you. That's basically what that was. That's what Mike Malone's comments basically were. He's basically saying, you got to pay attention to us now. Not some guy who's played in the league 20 years who needs to have every single camera on him. That's why he came after your neck like that. That's why he sarcastically announced his retirement, because he finds it ridiculous, just like I do, that you would take any pleasure in stealing spotlights from people who deserve to have it shown on them. Because that 2023 Nuggets team, they deserve to have all the spotlight. They deserve to have all the cameras. They deserve to have all the mics shoved in their mouths. They deserve to have that. And why is it? Just like you, 7 years prior, when you got off of that plane wearing the Ultimate Warrior t-shirt, holding the Larry O'Brien trophy in your hand, is because they have scoreboard. And when someone has scoreboard, you know what position you should do? You should know your role, Mr. Lamar James, and shut your mouth. Do that more often, please. All right, we'll take a final trip into the VIP zone where, let me go back to the Hot TV's comments. He goes on to say, Coach Malone is standing at the mountaintop with one heck of a team, and he also believes the Nuggets will repeat, and I agree with you on that. I think they will because that team is awesome. I mean, look at the Nuggets. That team is so young. Nikola Jokic is the oldest member on it, and he's only 28. So he just got into his prime about maybe a year or two ago. So if all things are good and he's healthy, it's quite possible we might see more than just one championship come to the Rocky Mountain City. Ugh, that's scary. Victor says, look, this is kind of what Stephen A was battling with people when he says, stay off the weed. I always find that funny. Now, you got a chance to see a little bit of the story, Deets. And that's what sparked the controversy. The fact that Malone was being, sarcastic. And he was throwing shade at LeBron, and LeBron clapped back on Instagram. Sad. He goes on to say, look, on one hand, Coach Malone should not be talking about players who aren't on his team. On the other, LeBron put the rabbit ears away. You don't have to react to everything. Oh, but he does. That's just how he is. He goes on to say, but why did Malone come out with this? Or did McAfee bring it up? Well, McAfee didn't bring that up. He was just talking about just the Lakers in general. Ryan says, I was hoping you would read that post verbatim. Thank you. Yeah, it's ridiculous. D says, good God, the pretentiousness of that statement is atrocious. But I blame Malone for talking about a player who's not on his team. I get what you're saying. But scoreboard. I mean, to me, that's what it is. And like I said, it's scoreboard. You just got to let them roll. You got to let them shine. I'm like, okay. All right. And just be classy. The only thing you probably can offer is, okay, we'll see him on the court next year. I mean, that's all you really have to say. He deserves his shine. He's getting all of it. All right. We'll see him next year. Ryan says, quote, oh, sorry, let me do this correctly. He says, quote, you're not minding your business. You're mining your business. Close quote. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Victor says, moreover, they can just point their finger and show their rings. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Scoreboard. It's like, you can whine about the words that we're saying, but guess what? I got this and you don't. I mean, and definitely, Victor, LeBron got in his feelings as usual. And that is the problem I have about this whole matter. It's like, and Deet said it earlier. LeBron's rabbit-eared, but he can wear the Ultimate Warrior t-shirt and troll and be petty and dish it out. He just don't want to take it. That's why I don't really that's why, Mr. Deets, I don't really feel bad about Malone talking ill about another player in this case, because I think he's right. I mean, LeBron stole the thunder of the Nuggets sweeping the Lakers with his retirement tease And so he was just throwing that back at him. And I don't blame him for doing it. It's his moment. It's his time. And LeBron should just bow out. But of course, he needs to have the mic. He needs to have the camera. And he needs to have the attention. And Victor goes on to say, it doesn't matter, Mr. Dietz. Someone is ejecting themselves into your celebration to cause issues. You get what you deserve. Drop that mic, sir. That's exactly how I feel. Right there, 1,000%. You get what you deserve. You got swept. Deal with it. They won. Let them talk. Thank you, guys. You're so awesome. The VIP zone is great. And if you want to be a part of the VIP zone, when these episodes drop live for the most part, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, be a part of this wonderful crew of VIPs. You will not regret it. I guarantee it. Now, if you feel led to donate to this program, go to cash.app/$host Cole Johnson. That's cash.app/host. $host Cole Johnson. Not done flawlessly, right? That is cash.app/$host Cole Johnson. And that'll do it for another ringing, riveting installment of Cole Sportz. For all of us here in the Comey Media Studios, I am Cole Johnson saying this is
Thank you for tuning in to Cole Sportz. To download this episode, go to Spreaker and type Cole Sportz with a Z. For apparel, go to Spring and type Cole Sportz VIP Boutique. That's with a Z. To reach Cole Johnson, go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. This has been a Comey Media Incorporated presentation.